My name is Madeline Kensington, though the art world knows me only as MK, the reclusive artist whose paintings command millions at auctions. But to my family, I'm just Maddie, the disappointment who wastes time with paint. I stood in my private studio, surrounded by canvases worth more than my family's entire estate, and watched my latest piece dry, a haunting portrait that would soon become the centerpiece of tonight's gallery opening. The irony wasn't lost on me that my parents and siblings had spent millions collecting my work, all while mocking my failed career to my face. Another finger painting, Maddie? That's what my sister Olivia had sneered at our last family dinner, not realizing she had just bid $2.3 million on one of my finger paintings at Christie's last month. The journey to this moment began 15 years ago, when I announced to my family that I was leaving my respectable position at our family's investment firm to pursue art. The Kensingtons had been in finance for 3 generations, making money, not art. My decision was met with immediate hostility. "You're throwing your life away," my father had thundered, his face red with anger. "No daughter of mine will become a starving artist." My mother, ever the socialite, was more concerned about appearances. "What will we tell our friends? That our daughter has decided to become a nobody." But it was my brother Marcus who delivered the cruelest blow. "You have no talent, Maddie. You'll fail, and then you'll come crawling back, begging for your old job." They cut me off completely. No support, no connections, not even my trust fund. I was erased from the family photos, uninvited from social events, treated like a cautionary tale of failure. Only my grandmother understood, secretly supporting me with small checks and words of encouragement until she passed away 2 years later. I moved into a tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn, took odd jobs to pay the bills, and painted every free moment I had. My style evolved, dark, complex pieces that captured the raw emotion of betrayal and resilience. I signed each piece simply as MK, determined to succeed or fail on my own merit, not my family name. Then something unexpected happened. My work caught the attention of Elena Martinez, one of New York's most respected gallery owners. She saw something in my paintings that others had missed, a depth of emotion that spoke to collectors. "Your pain bleeds through the canvas," she told me during our first meeting. "It's beautiful and terrible at the same time. People will pay fortunes to own that kind of truth." She was right. Within 2 years, MK became the art world's most intriguing mystery. My paintings sold for increasingly astronomical sums, always to buyers who never met the artist. The speculation about my identity became part of my allure. Was MK a reclusive European aristocrat? A former monk? A mysterious collective? My family, ironically, became one of my biggest collectors. They didn't collect art out of passion. They collected it as a status symbol, and MK had become the ultimate status symbol in their social circle. I watched through Elena as they acquired piece after piece, each time paying more than the last. My father especially prided himself on owning the largest private collection of MK originals in North America. "Your father just paid $4.8 million for Shadows of Betrayal," Elena informed me last month, trying to hide her amusement. "He has no idea that painting was inspired by the day he cut you off." Now, standing in my studio, I surveyed the paintings for tonight's gallery opening. It would be my first public appearance as MK, though my identity would remain concealed behind an elaborate mask, part of the mystique Elena had carefully crafted over the years. But this wasn't just any gallery opening. This was to be held at the Kensington Foundation's new art wing, funded largely by my family's extensive collection of MK originals. They had spent the past month promoting it as the social event of the season, promising their wealthy friends an unprecedented gathering of MK's most significant works. What they didn't know was that every painting they collected over the years contained a hidden signature, my real signature, Madeline Kensington, painted in specialized ink that would only become visible under the unique lighting system being installed for tonight's exhibition. At 9:00 p.m., when the lights changed for the grand reveal of my latest piece, every MK painting in their collection would simultaneously reveal its true artist. Their prized collection, the crown jewel of their social standing, would expose the very daughter they'd mocked and rejected. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Everything's ready. Your family just confirmed they'll all be there tonight. Are you sure about this?" I looked at my reflection in the studio window, remembering every dismissive comment, every mocking laugh. Every moment they made me feel worthless. Then I thought about the $50 million they'd spent collecting the art they claimed I had no talent to create. Yes, I replied. It's time they learned who MK really is. The Kensington Foundation's new art wing gleamed under the setting sun, its glass walls reflecting the last golden rays of daylight. I arrived early, slipping in through a private entrance Elena had arranged. The mask I wore was a piece of art itself, an intricate creation of black lace and silver that concealed the upper half of my face while allowing me to blend in with the evening's upscale atmosphere. From my hidden vantage point, I watched the guests arrive. New York's elite filed in, dressed in designer clothes and dripping with jewelry, all eager to be part of this historic evening. Then I saw them, my family, arriving as a unit, radiating the signature Kensington confidence. My father, Harrison Kensington, looked distinguished as ever in his tailored tuxedo. My mother, Evelyn, wore an evening gown that probably cost more than my first apartment. Marcus and Olivia followed, both sporting that familiar look of smug superiority I remembered so well. The Kensingtons have arrived, Elena murmured beside me. Your father's already bragging about how he personally selected each MK piece for maximum investment potential. I watched as my father led a group of admirers to one of my earliest works, Echoes of Silence, a dark, swirling canvas I painted during those first lonely months after being cut off. Notice the complexity of emotion, he was saying, gesturing grandly. MK's mastery of shadow and light here is unparalleled. I acquired this piece for a mere $800,000 3 years ago. It's now valued at $3.2 million. Olivia joined him, champagne flute in hand. Daddy has an eye for talent. He knew MK would become a major force in the art world. Unlike some people we know, she laughed, and I recognized the cruel edge in her voice. Remember Maddie's little paintings? Those childish splashes of color. My mother touched her pearl necklace, a nervous habit I remembered from childhood. Evelyn, darling, must we discuss that unfortunate situation? Tonight is about celebrating real art. I felt Elena's hand squeeze my arm. Ready, she whispered. I nodded. Everything was in place. The specialized lighting had been installed exactly to my specifications. Each painting in the collection had been positioned precisely where it needed to be. Even the temperature of the room was carefully controlled to ensure the reactive ink would activate properly. At exactly 8:45, Elena stepped forward to address the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this historic exhibition of MK's work. In 15 minutes, we'll be revealing MK's latest masterpiece, along with a surprise that will make this evening unforgettable. The anticipation in the room was palpable. My father positioned himself front and center, clearly expecting to make some sort of speech about his magnificent collection. Marcus was already filming with his phone, no doubt planning to post about the exclusive event on social media. I moved silently through the crowd, listening to snippets of conversation about my work. Art critics debated my techniques, collectors bragged about their MK pieces, and everyone speculated about my identity. I heard MK is actually a British aristocrat. No, my sources say it's a collective of Korean artists. Well, I was told MK is a former monk who only paints during full moons. At 8:55, the regular lights began to dim gradually. My father took this as his cue to speak up. As the owner of the world's largest private collection of MK originals, he announced proudly, I can tell you that these works represent the pinnacle of contemporary art. Each piece in this room was personally selected by me for its unique. The lights dropped completely, cutting him off mid-sentence. A soft ultraviolet glow began to fill the room. And then it happened. One by one, my hidden signatures began to appear on every painting. The specialized ink I'd used years ago reacted to the UV light, revealing my full name, Madeline Kensington, inscribed in flowing script across each canvas. The crowd gasped. My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Olivia's mouth hung open as she stared at the nearest painting, where my name glowed like a neon accusation. What is this? My father stammered, his face growing red as he realized what was happening. That was my cue. I stepped onto the small platform where my newest piece waited under a black velvet cloth. In one smooth motion, I removed both the cloth and my mask. Good evening, everyone, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. I'm Madeline Kensington. You might know me better as MK. The chaos that erupted was everything I'd imagined and more. Phones came out, cameras flashed. and the crowd surged forward. Art critics who praised my work for years pushed to get closer. Collectors who owned my pieces realized their value had just skyrocketed with the revelation of my identity. But I kept my eyes fixed on my family. My father's face had gone from red to white, his hands shaking as he looked around at the collection he'd spent millions acquiring, millions spent on the daughter he dismissed as talentless. My mother had sunk into the nearest chair, her social composure shattered. Marcus and Olivia stood frozen, their expressions a mix of shock and dawning horror as they remembered every mocking comment they'd made about my art. The failed artist, I said, letting my voice carry. The one who had no talent. The disappointment you erased from your family. That's whose art you've been collecting. That's whose work you've been bragging about at every social event. That's who you spent $50 million trying to impress your friends with. Elena stepped forward, her timing perfect as always. For those wondering, yes, every piece in the Kensington collection has been authenticated as a genuine MK, or should I say, a genuine Madeline Kensington. The signatures now visible under UV light have been verified by multiple experts. My father finally found his voice. Madeline, he started, taking a step toward me. We didn't. No, I finished for him. That's exactly the point. You never knew me. You never saw me. You were so busy protecting the family's reputation that you couldn't recognize talent unless it came with someone else's name attached. I gestured to the painting I just unveiled, a massive canvas depicting a young woman turning her back on a group of shadowy figures, her form dissolving into a constellation of bright stars against their darkness. This piece is called Liberation, I announced to the crowd. And it's not for sale. It's a gift to the Kensington Foundation's new art wing, along with my entire collection. After all, I smiled directly at my father. Family is all about legacy, isn't it? The irony was perfect. Their new art wing, meant to showcase their wealth and taste, would forever tell the story of how they failed to recognize the artists in their own family. As reporters swarmed and cameras flashed, I watched my family retreat to a corner. Their world upended. The whispers had already started. The Kensingtons didn't recognize their own daughter's talent. They rejected her, then spent a fortune collecting her work. Elena appeared at my side, grinning. Ready for the interviews? Every major art publication in the world wants to talk to you. I took one last look at my family, my father's defeated posture, my mother's tears, my siblings' embarrassment, and felt not triumph, but release. Their opinion of me had controlled my life for so long. But now I was free. My success wasn't despite their rejection. It was because of it. Every cruel word, every dismissive gesture had fueled my art, transformed my pain into something beautiful and valuable. Yes, I said, turning away from them. I'm ready to tell my story. In the years that followed, the legend of MK's revelation became art world history. My work, now signed openly as Madeline Kensington, commanded even higher prices. The Kensington Foundation's art wing became a major tourist attraction, though not for the reasons my family had intended. My father never spoke to me again. His pride couldn't survive the humiliation. My mother tried once, awkwardly suggesting we put the past behind us. But I declined. Marcus and Olivia occasionally send messages through Elena, probably hoping to benefit from my success. But I maintain my distance. I don't need their approval anymore. My art speaks for itself, and its voice is louder than their mockery ever was. Sometimes, when I'm working late in my studio, I think about that young woman who left everything behind to follow her passion. She wasn't a failure, she was just preparing for her masterpiece.